Welcome to Scream Queens Horror Movie Road Trip Podcast, a special mini-sode.
Off-road mini-sode.
A special off-road mini-sode. Off-road mini-sode episode. God, how many times am I going to say episode 5?
Yeah.
We're titling it, Are You Gonna Eat That?
Are you going to eat that, girl?
So, off-road episode 5. Are you going to eat that?
Welcome. Ah! Okay, now it's official.
It's an episode.
It's an episode.
An off-road mini-sode.
Off-road mini-sode. Off-road mini-sode. Twerk in the car. Twerk in the car. Twerk in the car. Twerk in the car. Oh, yeah.
So you know what that means. It's going to be a short but sweet. We're not driving. We're just sitting in our car. Hence the off-road.
Off-road.
We're not on the road. We're in the back of Cattleman's Steakhouse in the legendary Stockyard
Historic
City,
district.
The historic Stockyard City of Oklahoma City.
Yes, it's where the Wild Wild West wasn't one, but where there were some cowboys once upon a time in Okie City, long time ago.
And even now you'll see cows walking down the street sometimes if they're doing a...
They do it every week.
What do they even call that? We're not real Okies. We're not country Okies. We're real Okies, but we're not countrified.
It's where they have the cattle that walk the stockyard.
Yeah, it's
and
like real cowboys walking real cows down the street.
And you know, there's something tasty about a Wrangler wearing cowboy.
Was it cowboy butts or Wrangler butts drive me nuts?
Yeah, that's right. Wrangler butts drive me nuts.
Is it Wrangler nuts?
Cowboy nuts.
Put it in my butt.
Put it in your butt.
Wrangler nuts.
Put it in my
butt.
Front butt.
Well, you wouldn't put your nuts in my butt.
You don't want to put dim
the
nuts. Oh my goodness.
The point is,
as
if you're
usual,
hot and you're wearing Wranglers, put it in me.
I mean, as usual, we're horny. We've also had a couple drinks because it wouldn't be an off-road mini-sode without us having a couple drinks.
Do you guys remember a few off-road mini-sodes back? I had I think, puked before we started recording.
It was terrible.
And
I drove because obviously we're not going to be drunk and driving.
Yes. And remember, we were off-road at the time.
Yes, off-road. We've had a couple Manhattans. We also ate like old people at 5.
Yeah, we came at 5. Well, we're going to go see a movie later this evening, Fantasy Island, which we hear is terrible, but we're horror fans. We see everything.
So we see everything.
We don't care what you say. We're going to go see it.
We're going to go see it.
We might hate it, but we're going to go see it.
And I'm sure in Fantasy Island, the movie, they're going to have some food, which is what we need to bring this episode back
so bringing it back to Cattleman's. We love Cattleman's. We're pretty conscious. We try to eat plant-based and vegetarian as much as we can. Yeah. But that being said, it probably, we eat our fair share of meat too.
We're in Oklahoma. We were raised on some cattle and some chicken.
So me and Justine were looking at our watches and our calendars. And we're like, you know what? We haven't been to Cattleman's in a while.
Yeah. We do try to
What's funny
visit.
is the last time we came was when we did our off-road mini-sode 4, right before we went and ate Joe Bob Briggs, before we went and watched Joe Bob Briggs do his awesome one-man show lecture.
Yeah, but we didn't.
But we didn't talk about it.
We got
just
inspired.
ate there, and then because it was also in the Stockyard area.
Yeah, it was.
But there is
we're back.
Kind of an infamous food item on the menu at Cattleman's, and they are called lamb fries.
Oh.
You might know what that is the second I say it.
Lamb fries.
But there's things called lamb fries. There's things called calf fries. But at Cattleman's they have lamb fries, and it means it's lamb balls, fried lamb testicles.
Yeah, it is not French fries that are shaped like little lambs.
And it's something we've never eaten. We always kind of scoff at it.
It's that sounds nasty when you find it. That's nasty.
But it's almost like an Oklahoma rite of passage. You gotta have some lamb fries, and we've never done it.
We often have been asked by people upon meeting them, you shake
you're from
hands
Oklahoma?
And they just want to know, like, oh, okay, so you're an Oklahoman, you've had lamb fries.
So that's all you eat, right, is lamb fries. I'm like, sir.
You live in teepees.
Back off.
And you eat lamb fries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back off, bitch.
Back off.
Back off, bitch. We didn't back off this time, so we sat our happy ass. Well, we're going to create some ambiance.
We first were like, oh, Cattleman's. Oh, lamb fries. Oh, let's eat those. Oh, let's do an episode.
That's the literal hole that we went
Well,
down.
it kind of got us talking about just like nasty food scenes in horror movies.
Yes.
Like when people just eat disgusting stuff and how terrifying and gross that is. And we're like, hey, we're terrified and kind of grossed out about eating these lamb fries, but let's go do it and let's make an episode. Let's incorporate it into our episode. So first, we're going to tell you our experience with the lamb fries.
Yeah.
Justine was brave and tried first.
Yeah. What's funny is that, we were trying to document it for Scream Queens on Instagram. And so Josh is making this video that I think is me eating the lamb. Like, I'm all ready. I got that dip. What he's actually doing is a zoom in. I appreciate too.
A super zoom, if you will,
of the intended lamb fries that are supposed to go into my mouth. But I jumped the gun, tried them. He wasn't even ready. All of a sudden, pop in my mouth.
I was
Here
like,
they
Justine,
are.
I wasn't recording you.
And so here I am eating it, and it's not even being documented, like, whatever. That doesn't matter.
So, a little inside, the video on Instagram is really Justine having her second bite.
That's my second one.
But only you listeners know that because you're cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
Too cool for school?
We tell you the inside.
The inside
things
part.
like that. Touch me on the inside part.
We let you know on the inside.
Instagram us if you know what movie that's from.
In the inside part.
Touch me on the inside part.
Touch me.
So we tried them tonight.
Yes.
And what'd you think, Justine?
Well, we by the time that I tried them, we'd already had a Manhattan in us, so we had to sit in the lounge and wait for a seat and got a Manhattan.
We had to loosen ourselves up a little bit.
Yeah, I just couldn't go balls deep.
We had to have a little liquid courage.
So
she couldn't go balls in to eat the balls.
I couldn't. So I had to have some libations. I needed to have some liquid courage. I took it in. I took that bite, and it was fried. It kind of reminded me of like a chicken nugget, like a legit like chicken nugget that you would get at McDonald's. Just the texture, the lack of actual taste. You tasted fried, but
they are breaded and fried, and they give you like this cocktail sauce, like what you would have with like shrimp cocktail or something to eat it with.
But other than that, like you squeeze the little lemon, dunk it, got a little dip for you.
A little dip.
And then I dipped. And it was, I guess it was a little like, womp womp.
They were surprisingly mushy. My first reaction, I think because of the breading, because of the cocktail sauce, and because of the lemon that you squeeze on top, it reminded me of a mushy piece of calamari.
Yeah, it was like, oh, we're at the sea.
And I was actually really expecting like a calamari consistency, so maybe that's why that got in my head right away, like mushy
I thought
calamari.
It was going to be a little more tendony.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a little chewy. At the very least. But like I said, all the setup, how they make it, it really does kind of taste like mushy calamari. That was because of the breading, like I said, the cocktail sauce and the lemon. So we did it. We were brave.
Balls.
I guess we're officially Oklahomans now.
I've got balls in my mouth, and it wasn't that bad.
Oh.
Balls in my mouth, and it wasn't that bad. Wasn't
balls
that bad.
In my mouth,
wasn't
and it
that
was
bad.
wonderful.
Got them balls in my mouth, and it wasn't that bad.
So wonderful.
Balls in my mouth. All right. Well, so it wasn't.
Little tune we wrote.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I wouldn't get them again. They were honestly a little flavorless, other than the breading, the cocktail sauce, and the lemon juice. There wasn't much of a taste at all. It was like they really were mushy. It was a lot mushier.
Yeah.
Balls, when they're cooked and fried, taste like mush.
Mush balls. Cattle balls are mushy.
Well, these were lamb. They were lamb fries. So they were
lamb fries. Yeah.
Lamb testicles.
We did have cattle though. We had some steaks.
I had a big old steak.
Big old steaks and baked
potato.
potato.
We ate steak and taters.
We had the salad with the wonderful house dressing.
Yeah. If you're ever in Oklahoma City,
Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City.
You gotta go to Cattleman's.
Yeah, you gotta hit up.
If you're a meat eater, there's really nothing for you if you're not a meat eater.
Yeah, no, that would
like legit
be
nothing.
A terrible
you could come in and have a
experience.
house salad and a roll,
and like a coconut cream pie at the end.
Yeah, they do have good cocktails. Their Manhattan was really yummy, and I'm kind of I have a lot of Manhattans. It's one of my favorite drinks.
Yep.
And they have a yummy one. And I'm not afraid to admit when I get a shitty Manhattan.
He'll straight up be like, bitch, that wasn't a good Manhattan!
So our food horror story turned out to be just meh. It wasn't scary.
It was the build-up.
It was the build-up. And honestly, because of that Manhattan, I put it in my mouth really easy.
Well, let's talk about
some of the grossest
Yeah.
food scenes in movie motherfucking history.
Oh, probably not in movie history, but just ones we could recall.
We literally had my little like notepad out writing down these
Just-
as we ate.
Yeah, drinking and trying
Lamb
to talk
balls.
about gross food. So let's start with what do you have? The first one is A Nightmare on Elm
I'm
Street
going with
5?
one. The first one that popped into my head was Nightmare on Elm Street 5. One, I'm a Freddy guy. Freddy's my main man, my brother, my lover, my father,
Oh shit.
my baby.
Oh,
He's-
all the dynamics
he's
that could
all of
be.
them.
What is it?
He's
filial?
the Trinity. He's the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
He is.
He's all of it.
Robert
So,
Englund.
of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street is going to pop into my head first, but I went to the scene in part 5 where Greta,
Greta.
the supermodel who unfortunately has an eating disorder.
That's sad.
And Freddy is going to play on that eating disorder. And
'Cause
in
he's
her
playful.
dream, when she's having it at her fancy mother's dinner party, Freddy starts just
She's getting
fucking her
stuffed.
up. He's stuffing that mouthful.
She's getting stuffed.
And her cheeks are getting expanded. He's just shoving it down her face. It's falling out of her mouth. It's disgusting. It's like
Getting overfed.
getting overfed in the worst way possible.
Stuffed as a goose.
And then she gets pulled out of her dream. She's getting pulled through a refrigerator.
Yes.
Like, it's all kinds of nightmarish. And also the actress, Erica Anderson, there's an Oklahoma connection. She's from Tulsa.
Tulsa
Which is like
town.
an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Oklahoma City where we live. So we're like, oh my God, she's from Oklahoma. We're from Oklahoma.
She might have gone to
Fancy.
Cattleman's.
You know, she was there tonight.
She was Erica.
Eating those lamb balls.
Erica, you were at Cattleman's and you didn't even hit us up, girl.
Girl, we're talking about you right
we were
now.
here. You were here. Where you at?
You were here. We were here.
Something's got to do with something.
Someone's got to do something. Why aren't you talking to us, girl?
Golly, Erica. Okay, yeah. So that's a good one too. Like
Yeah,
just being
Nightmare 5.
overstuffed by Freddy Krueger.
Well, I think 1, 2, everyone knows that feeling. It's
Yeah.
terrible when you overeat, which we just did.
Mm-hmm.
You feel sluggish. You feel nasty. You don't even want to walk.
You can't twerk
You
anymore.
almost feel like you're going to throw up. So the fact that she's getting so overstuffed that we physically see her changing in the moment, her cheeks are expanding, her belly's expanding.
She gonna bust.
It's just like worst case scenario
She
of
gonna blow.
overeating.
Girl gonna blow. She gonna blow from
It's
all
like,
ends.
she looks like all Americans. Just
Oh,
eating.
just gluttonous. Yeah.
She's a
That's
gluttonous American.
That's the thing too about like food and horror is it is like it's sinful. You know, it's like another movie that we want to cover.
Seven. Let's go ahead and talk about it. That's a good
Yeah.
segue.
It's a little
Overeating
gluttonous.
is sinful.
Yes.
And it feels sinful when you do it. And you know what? That's probably one of my most common sins.
Yeah,
Is
like if I
being a
as
glutton.
as a terrible Catholic, if
We
I
are-
have to go and tell Father what I've what I've been sinning, golly,
Father, we ate cow balls at
he'd
Cattleman's,
be
followed by
sweating up a
a salad,
storm.
baked potato, roll, and a big old piece of meat.
If I had to
How
tell,
many Hail Marys for my sin, Father?
oh,
Oh,
goodness.
no Hail Marys, just a few spankings?
Little
Okay.
spankings, yeah. If Father knew all my sins,
Yeah, but that
he'd be
scene is so
sweating.
gross when they come into, I think he's in an apartment, and his stomach has like blown out.
It's
From
disgusting.
being like
So
overfed spaghetti or something.
distended.
It's,
He's just
again,
caked on food, caked all over him.
we all know
his
that
face.
feeling of overeating. So taken to the extreme where it kills you,
Mm-hmm. I mean,
that is horrifying.
that is horrifying. Yeah.
And I think why these scenes resonate is because you got to eat to live. So someone perversing that action that you've got to do to live. It's almost like with A Nightmare on Elm Street. You got to dream. Or you got to sleep. So someone fucking you up in your dreams and your nightmares. It plays with this...
Or force feeding you.
Yeah, it plays with this thing that you have to do. You have to eat. You have to sleep. And then someone, like I said, perversioning...
Mhm.
Perverts!
Being perverts.
Making it nasty. That's, I think, where the scare comes from. Is
Yeah.
that we have to do it. We have to eat.
And you don't want to be revolted by food, but yet watching these scenes of being overstuffed and overfed, it's like a deterrent. You're like, oh, I don't want to eat now. Ugh, gross. It's one of those like reasons why I can't eat when we're watching or when I'm watching, and I always. Sometimes we're not together, guys, but like when we're watching horror movies, I can't eat and watch a horror movie, chances are it's gonna be super bloody. I don't also want. There's something about like eating, it makes you happy. So then like I get this like, oh, I'm so happy I'm eating while somebody's being butchered or.
So your brain is connected to your stomach. You see something gross, you're gonna throw up.
There you go. I don't want to be revolted by the wonderful food that I postmated myself.
And like you said, food does bring people joy. So the fact that someone's taking something that brings you so much joy and is making it miserable for you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know what? That's a good one to segue into Silence of the Lambs, but Hannibal.
Yeah, we're gonna actually talk about both Hannibal and Silence of the Lambs, and then we're gonna go into an even deep dive in just a second about cannibalism. But Silence of the Lambs, it's like, what's it called when you're eating yourself? Self cannibalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he didn't have much of a choice, but of course, what do you think we're talking about when we're talking about Hannibal?
Ooh.
Ray Liotta, aka Paul Crandall.
When Clarice Starling is like watching Ray Liotta as he's being fed his own brains by Hannibal Lecter. And he's like explaining to Clarice Starling, like, just so you know, I'm feeding him his good manners part of his brain.
Yeah.
Ew. Ew! Gross. I'm grossed out talking about it right now. Yeah. It's definitely like...
Because, yeah, he's cuts open his skull. First the scalp.
Reveal
then cuts the skull, opens it up. There's his brain. And then he's just cutting it up like it's a fillet.
Yeah.
Throwing it in the pan.
Skillet. Yeah,
and
just like kind of frying it
up. And then feeding it to him. And he's sitting there. I think hadn't he already been given like a lobotomy or something?
Yeah.
Too?
I mean, he's
just
sitting there
a
like vegetative state.
Yeah, like a zombie.
Yeah.
Just
like just
eating himself
his
to
own
death.
brain.
And Clarice is watching in horror, as you would. Right?
Yeah, it's like, you know, when people, after they've killed somebody, when they mess with their body.
Yes.
It's a form of that. What is that called? When you're like, you're playing around with the parts that you just dismembered from somebody.
It's like decimating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Desecrating. There they are. Like, he's still technically alive, and he's being fed almost like an animal. Himself. Gross, guys.
You know, maybe I'll try it one day. You know, they say you only live once. Life is all about #experiences.
Brain eating experiences. Okay, let's go into now. It's not that
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, sometimes you don't ever actually see anybody eating. You get a lot of Buffalo Bill cutting up people and sewing clothes. So we'll talk about that when we talk about horror fashion one day. But Hannibal Lecter, there is a lot of cannibal talk.
Yes.
There's a lot of course, the famous line, I ate his liver with Chianti. I ate his liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti. And
a bottle of Chianti.
That wonderful slurp he does. But yeah, you don't see much cannibalism. They save that for Hannibal.
Yes, but it's the Hannibal the Cannibal. It's referenced in the movie. He is Hannibal the Cannibal. He has to wear a mask around, that has like bars around his mouth because that's his weapon.
Yeah.
He eats a man's face towards the end when he's escaping from that really cool, well shot, like, now we're just getting into the scene, but where it's that jail cell and he's doing that kind of like 360 shot of all around him, that man splayed out on the bars, and when he attacks him, he eats his face.
You do see him take a bite of the guard's face.
So he is definitely, Hannibal isn't, he's not ashamed of his cannibalism. It's to him, he is higher because he's got a higher level of reasoning because he chooses to eat people.
Yeah. And that kind of goes in with, like we were saying, here's a list of just cannibal movies. And some of these are like extreme classics. Like we have both the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah.
You have in the first one, it's implied that when they stop at the gas station, you see the feet cooking at the end.
Yep.
You get an idea, they buy some of that meat, that those kids ate people. And that's what the Sawyer family's all about. You see them in part 2 having the chili cook-off.
And they're feeding it to all these people that are voting on.
And they win the chili cook-off.
Yeah, it's just kind of this like this idea of like we don't know where our meat comes from, so therefore we don't. It's removed from us. We're not concerned, so we just eat.
And of course, there's Cannibal Holocaust, Green Inferno,
Yes.
movies where you just see lots of ravaging of human parts, people getting torn apart, especially Green Inferno. That guy just gets dismembered and torn apart.
Alive. Yeah,
he's
like he gets parts of him cut off, and he is still alive.
And I think those scenes and cannibal movies are so scary because it's the worst of humanity. Like,
and
you see
that
movies,
is real.
Yeah,
There's real cannibals out
and
there.
it becomes understandable when it's like a movie like Alive, where it's people eating other people to live, like the people that have died. But when it's people just
it's not survival
by choice.
Yes, it's
they're eating people
meat of preference. Yes,
and they mess with the fact like they treat humans as animals in these movies, almost like Green Inferno.
Degrading.
They're that term, like an Amazonian savage. That's very un-PC, but they treat these cannibals are savages. They're eating and pulling people apart.
Yes,
it's the
very
worst
primitive.
of humanity. It's primitive. It's animalistic.
Yes,
it's almost like getting attacked by a bear or something, but instead it's not annihilation. It's another human.
Oh, that's a good
Run!
I love how we throw annihilation here.
Yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with like food, but yeah,
that's the cannibal.
Motel Hell.
Yeah.
Where there are people that are being fed like swine.
What's in the jerky?
And you find out that they're being almost treated kind of like veal in a way that like they're being placed in the dirt and
Like,
spoon-fed or tube-fed.
They're like people veggies.
Yes.
Like they're being treated almost as vegetation.
And then they're turned into jerky and sold. And there's that whole scene where all the characters, or not all the characters, but a lot of the characters are sitting there having a picnic. And everybody's like, this jerky is so good. Love this jerky. This is so great.
What's in the jerky?
What's in the jerky? Your friend, the one that's missing that you can't find.
Those awful noises that people make
because
in
they're
Motel.
they're like in a vegetative state, but like kept alive because they're gonna have some good meat.
Another great horror food scene is Poltergeist. When one of the psychic detective, ghost detective guys is in the kitchen.
Hashtag iconic.
He's like raiding the kitchen. He's eating a piece of chicken. He finds like a slab of steak. He's opening it up. Then the steak crawls across the counter.
Yeah, it kind of scoots across.
Then it like throws itself up or something. Like it just starts exploding and like bubbling
maggots
bugs and maggots.
Oh.
And then it shocks the man. And he drops the piece of chicken he's eating, only to see that it's covered in maggots. And then he goes in the mirror and starts clawing his face apart. Like,
his face melts off.
There's a lot of levels to that scene. Yeah.
Because it's delusional, and it's
like, no,
the
really
poltergeist is being taking over him.
But
like
the idea of
my
eating
goodness.
something rotten,
Yes.
that's a
in
big
movies,
fear because
you pull it away. There's a bug crawling in it. Yeah.
And that comes from a real fear of even just 100 years ago, not no refrigeration.
Yeah.
Your food could spoil.
Yep.
And fast.
And even today, we check our expiration dates, and a lot of us know here in our first world that like food might have an expiration date, but it could probably last several days
a couple
after.
days later because it's in the refrigerator.
Yeah, it's fine. It's great. It's fine. But then we cut it open. There's like a little bitty worm crawling in it.
I think we've all had that moment where you took a sip of milk and you're like, oh, this is soured, or there's a lump, or you took a bite into a piece of bread and you're like, holy shit, there's mold on this. And you know how disgusting that is. So in a movie, all these movies play with those fears that you have, things that have happened to you.
Yep.
They're very personal and relatable.
Kind of the best kind of
horror. To the worst degree.
The best kind of horror is when you identify with it and you relate to it, and that's why it's just so goddamn scary.
Before we wrap up, we have to talk about one of the pinnacles of these movies. I think you're probably wondering why we haven't talked about Dead Alive
we're saving it.
Dead Alive that's probably one of the most classic scenes in Peter Jackson's Dead Alive is the scene where the pussy tapioca scene.
Puss
The pussy body part tapioca scene where the
So-
body part's just falling into the tapioca.
Oh.
And you have that moment of tension. You're like, are they going to eat it? Don't eat it. Don't eat it.
They're gonna
Oh,
eat
they
it.
ate it.
Yeah, they're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
He didn't build that scene up for it to not have
Yeah.
that finish.
So it has a really good build up and a really good payoff.
Oh golly.
And it's disgusting. And the color of it, it's just like this creamy, nasty color.
It's kind of
dropping.
why I don't like to eat tapioca pudding.
It is. I think it's tapioca. It's that or a weird soup, but
It's,
right now we're saying tapioca.
No, or if it's not, I swear there's in some commentary where they're like, we
Yeah.
use tapioca pudding. We
Uh-huh.
didn't just come up with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, guys. Or even just the classic pea soup from The Exorcist. Once you find out that something's been made to
yeah.
be, like, yeah, sure,
Who can
it
eat
is.
pea soup now?
Yeah, it's supposed to be vomit in the movie. I'm not saying it's supposed to be pea soup, but when you find out that it is pea soup, no longer can I eat pea soup.
Not that I ever really did before, but I love peas.
Yeah.
I love pea salad. I like
No, I
peas
think
by
it's-
themselves. I like boiled peas and chopped peas. And
Peas.
peas in a blanket. No.
Peas. But now I think of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. How movies change our
Yeah.
point of view, even about food.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to eat that? So, what other food scenes can you guys think of? That's kind of what we just came up with while we were eating our lamb balls. And we just thought it'd be a fun little topic. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook. Let us know if you have others. We would love to post about them and be like, oh,
Yeah.
so-and-so had this idea. This.
And thanks for listening
I
to Josh
love
and
that.
I, like, just
Yeah,
chat.
we love you
and-
guys. We love doing this show. We love doing it for ourselves. We love doing it for you. Keep
These-
listening. If you can, tell people about us. Rate and review us on iTunes,
Means the world.
Stitcher, Apple Podcast,
Any
wherever
any
you listen.
shout out we get, we're going to
yeah,
reciprocate.
we're on
so-
all the platforms. So
If-
give us that 5-star review and a nice
At
little
Scream Queens
review.
Podcast.
Yep, we love you guys. Thanks for
Love you
listening.
guys.
We'll be back with a full episode
Very soon.
Bye!